I'll teach you how to make your own pin wrench for your angle grinder and also for the adjustable cup of your bicycle. Some models still have this. This is the adjustable cup. You have to have a spindle, a pin wrench to be able to adjust the bearings inside. Now this is the bicycle pin wrench that you can buy online or in bicycle shops, and this is the pin wrench for your angle grinder, which you can also buy in the hardware. But instead of buying, I'll show you how to easily make your own pin wrench for your angle grinder and your adjustable cup in the crank system of your bicycle or bottom bracket. Now, if you would notice, this is adjustable because sometimes the diameter of the spindle or axle is big, so you have to have clearance so that while you're turning, this part won't be rubbing the diameter or the axle of your crank system. Now, if you're working on angle grinders, you really don't have to have this portion, this clearance here, because anyway the protrusion is only small. Actually this one has no protrusion, only this one. Whereas if you're working on your bicycle spindle or axle in your crank system, you have to have clearance because of that portion, this portion. So since I will be teaching you how to have a universal pin wrench for both your angle grinder and bicycle in adjusting this adjustable cup, I'll show you what modification you can do so that you will also have this clearance. By the way, the pin wrench for the uh, angle grinder also has clearance here, but actually you don't need that when you're building your own. But again, if you're going to work to use your angle grinder also for your bicycle, you should have clearance here, so you will have to grind this off to copy the clearance here, the curve clearance, to accommodate the diameter of your spindle or axle, because if it's straight you would be rubbing this portion. By the way, in my experience, I have several angle grinders because when I'm doing metal work, when I'm welding, I usually need at least 3 discs. So this one is for cutting, this one is for uh, sanding or polishing, and this one is for grinding. So it's ready. So instead of removing them every time I need a new disc, I just have the 3 available. Now I noticed that the Bosch and Makita, the pin wrenches are interchangeable. However, as regards DeWalt and Lotus, the pin wrenches are not interchangeable. So while you can use this on your DeWalt, you can't use this on your other grinders, and vice versa. You can use this on Lotus, but you can't use it on the others. So your remedy is to have this one. You can buy a ready-made adjustable pin wrench to accommodate whatever angle grinder you have, or make your own one. So in making this, you need only to have you buy this is part of a bookshelf bracket. I just cut certain portions to have these flat bars. Now if you would notice, since one is on top of the other, naturally the tips of the pins are not level, so your remedy is to cut this portion with your angle grinder. Okay, actually this will do, but I want it to be level, so later I'll cut this so that it will be level like this. So these are level. This one, because one bar is on top of the other, these are not level. This one is longer than this one, so I just have to cut this with my angle grinder later. Now to copy this clearance seal here, all you have to do is grind the portion here and over there, so that there will be a clearance for your spindle or axle here. So as I've said, you can get your flat bar from old bookshelf brackets, L brackets for your bookshelf. But if you don't have this, you can easily cut the portion of an angle bar and get two handles now. So you cut this into half, you'll already have two handles. And then you just have to drill holes for the nuts and bolts. I usually place two nuts here because this has a tendency to be loose with constant use. So if you use two nuts, it will stay put. And then here, so that I can tighten it, I just use a 1-inch nut and bolt, but instead of placing a nut here, I use the butterfly nut so that I can tighten this portion with my fingers, so to accommodate any distance of the two holes in your, this is the angle grinder flange, so you can adjust it or you can increase it if you're working on your bicycle crankset. This one. So this portion, the adjustable cap, is this portion in your crank system. This one is adjusting cap or adjustable cap. By the way, if you're going to buy a bracket, you don't have spare metal bars, you can buy this one. I saw this in the hardware. So there are already holes, so you just have to cut this and then shape this with your angle grinder, so you'll end up with something like this. Cut this off with your angle grinder and then just shape it this way with your angle grinder. You'll have something like this. Then put two holes there for your for the pins. So drill two holes there for your pins, and then drill holes here for your adjusting screw here. So you'll have this pin wrench with this kind of design. Here the pin wrench is curved over here, just like that. So I'll cut off this portion to make them level. This is longer, the left one is longer than the right one. I'll cut this off like that, and then imitate this portion. So I'll just grind it like that. I'll remove the black pentel pin from the right side and the left side, so that there will be clearance like that to accommodate the spindle or axle of your crank system. So like that. By the way, if you have several pin wrenches for your different angle grinders. These have the tendency to get misplaced or get lost. So your remedy is to tie them together with a piece of wire, but it's very bulky and heavy in your toolbox already. So your remedy is to buy an adjustable wrench, pin wrench, or make your own. By the way, supposing you forgot to bring this in your work area, but what you brought is a pin wrench that only fits this one but does not fit the rest. There's a technique. So supposing it won't fit, so your remedy is to, if you're tightening, you put it here, one pin on the hole and then the other on the side, and then you tighten it as usual. If you're going to loosen it, you put it here, one pin there, and then one pin at the edge, and then loosen it as usual. The problem is, if you're strong, like you would notice that if you have been doing a lot of metal work or DIY stuff, your grip, of course your grip, your muscles become strong. You might be too strong, and then if you do that thing, meaning you put one pin there and then tighten it by placing the pin at the edge, you might crack your cutting disc. Remember, this is very brittle. If you crack it there and you don't notice it, this might explode. So if you're working on grinding disc, maybe you can do that stuff, no? Put one there and then one at the edge, and you will be able to tighten or loosen this. But if you're working on a cutting disc, it's very brittle, you might crack it here and then you don't notice it. This might explode because it will be weak already there. Not only that, if you keep on doing that, eventually you'll be denting this portion, the edges of your flange. So might as well make your own adjustable wrench, so you won't be damaging the sides of your flange. Okay, so that I'll have clearance here, I'll just grind off the one are marked with pentel pen, left side and right side, so there will be clearance here for the axle or spindle of your crank system. By the way, for the pins of your wrench that you will be doing, you just buy a pack of this size of nuts and bolts, so that you can place, you use this as the pins of your DIY pin wrench. So I already cut the long screw to make this level, and then I already ground the clearance. You don't have to remove too much material, just so that the spindle of your the spindle or axle won't rub against this portion. So let's test it now. Yeah, so you don't have to over tighten. And then let's remove it. There. Okay, so now let's test if it fits the adjustable cup. So there's enough clearance for the spindle or axle, so this portion won't be rubbing and denting that one. So you now have your own DIY cone wrench for removing the flange when you are replacing your discs, and then for adjusting the bottom bracket of your bicycle when you're adjusting the bearings inside your crank system or bottom bracket. Okay, time for coffee. Oh yeah.